So now that I've gone through most of the beginning basics, I'm gonna kind of hash out on how you want to take your practice time, and if you are taking lessons, how you can get the most out of it. So violin lessons, depending on the kind of teacher that you get, they could range anywhere from about $30 to, I don't know, somewhere in the hundreds, depending on the person that you're taking it from, of course. And mainly they're going to match your style. So as a beginner, I recommend getting a private teacher if you can't actually stay in a middle school and get instruction from there, because usually they're just going to teach you the same way that any other teacher is going to teach you the basics. It's just trying to get you to understand and know the violin better. So I'd say that if you do have access to a school or a middle school, don't take private lessons then. Once you get to a more advanced state and you want to kind of polish off everything, then you want to be able to get a private teacher, essentially to maximize your experience and kind of solidify more skill onto what you already know. So when you do practice, you want to understand that you have to set time limits and boundaries in between each thing. So you have to take practice seriously in the case of any instrument, but violin in this type of in this kind of study, you want to really just set time limits on when you want to study, and you want to take advantage of practice. You want to understand yourself better. Practicing really just helps you find out your mistakes and allowing you to perfect what you don't already know. You have to practice a bit every day. It doesn't have to be every day, like 3 hours at a time, but you want to practice enough so that you feel comfortable in what you're doing. So it could be any repertoire, it could be any musical piece, but you just want to feel comfortable with that piece. You want to create a certain amount of space and time for yourself. You don't really want to take out time from what you're already doing in your actual life just to study, just to practice violin, because it would kind of be a waste of time either way. You have to be productive. It's kind of like school. You want to be able to plan out and schedule when you're going to practice and how you're going to practice. That way you can get the most effective results. So if you're doing something if you're not doing anything and you're bored, you can go ahead and practice. Just take advantage of the time of when and what you need to practice on. Aside from this, musical pieces come in different speeds, rhythms, and whatnot. And this all comes also with musical reading skills. You want to be able to match the speed that you're using. So I'd say invest in a metronome. What a metronome does is it creates a consistent beat. So if you're playing in 4/4, repeated taps like such help you guide you on how fast or slow you want to play. A fast tempo would be a faster beat, and a slow tempo would be a slower one, and vice versa. And don't push yourself in practice too much. You want to take breaks. And when you do practice, let's say you run into a section that you don't know, you want to stick to that part, or you want to focus on that part as opposed to something you already do know. That way, you're practicing the most effective way. You know, people say practice makes perfect, but I don't necessarily find that true, because if you're practicing a certain way and it's incorrect, you're not really perfecting anything. I'd say perfect practice makes perfect, and I do know, and yeah, I guess that sounds kind of harsh in a way, but it is what it is. I mean, you have to be able to perfect what you don't already know to a certain skill set before you move on to what you already don't. And aside from that, if you are taking private lessons, you want to take advantage of who's teaching that. So you want to ask your teachers questions like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And there's certain skills that will take a hefty amount of time to perfect. Like, oh no, sorry about that. And these can include things like vibrato, where you vibrate using your finger. And that creates kind of like a wispy effect to the music. It kind of gives more emotion and appeal to the actual piece that you're playing. And I just say take advantage of everything you can with violin. And aside from practicing, I'd say get to know the music more. And I know there's like a lot of modern music out there right now, like pop and whatnot. But if you do take some time to listen to classical while you're studying or whatnot, you can really understand the pieces that you're playing and actually have a lot more appreciation for that. It's really just dependent on how you use your time. And if you listen to the music, let's say you're practicing a song and you listen to that music over and over and over, it'll help you because it's not just learning visually, but it's also learning auditorily. By doing that, you basically you set a rhythm of how the piece goes, and you set, oh, I know what this piece sounds like, and you can pull that from the back of your head next time you're playing. I usually take advantage of that, and different people have different playing styles. Me, for example, I don't really necessarily like reading the sheet music. I like to take advantage of my auditory senses. I can basically kind of listen to a song or a piece, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be classical, but I can kind of pull that and transpose that into notes on the violin, and I just find that easier. And at the end of the day, don't stress yourself out because of violin. Learning anything new can be difficult, and you want to take advantage of the new experience. You're kind of learning something new. Your brain has to adjust. It's got to rewire everything, and just have fun with it, you know? Don't push yourself too hard. Eventually you'll get it. Everybody gets something once they learn it, but it just takes practice. And with that, you want to have certain boundaries. You want to set certain time limits. Oh, I'm going to practice for this long. And you want to have goals. You want to practice a bit every day, and kind of just rehashing everything that I've already explained in this video. Don't stress yourself out, you know? So yeah, just take advantage of that.